那他等一下就会来了。是吗？对。
Can we do a sound test, sound check? Testing 1, 2. Okay. A, B, C, D. Testing. 1, 2. Good. Oh. I'm used to that beautiful light here. You don't have the silhouette. That's okay. I'm in the shadow here. My head is bright. Top of my head is very bright.
Is it better?
Better. Yeah.
Okay, we can bring the white light.
Can you? But they won't be able to see it.
Not the,
Okay. It's just, you see this is all shadowy.
and your volume a little bit up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Testing 1, 2. A, B, C, D. Testing. Okay, we got a chat. Can hear and see. Good.
Yes.
Oh, okay. We have friends from Guangzhou, from Shanghai, from Shenzhen, from Malaysia, from the Gold Coast. Karina. Hi, Karina. Singapore, Taipei, Malaysia, Singapore, Gold Coast, Zhuhai. Good. Whole world is watching. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sadanto suchedoye alahadi samyao samputoshe. 无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 师父上人，各位师兄大家，阿弥陀佛。Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture tonight. My name is Heng. We are here at Gold Coast Dharma Realm for the opening of our how many day Earth Store Bodhisattva session. We're going to be reciting 100 35 days of reciting the Earth Store Bodhisattva Sutra 3 times a day. So we'll make that work mathematically. And we'll have the Earth Store Bodhisattva's Dharma is going to be radiating from here in the Gold Coast around the whole world. To get going, we need to do one more piece of protocol. And I'm going to be speaking in English, and we have a translation into Mandarin. 你们需要用耳机的人都有吗？哈，可以听到了吗？听得到？有了哈。普通话的翻译可以哈。好的，他是我们第一流的这个翻译的人手，应该很好啊。Varsity, he's the varsity translator. So yeah, good. All right. 好的，那我就可以继续讲英语。I can continue to speak in English, and I have a lot of good stories tonight. Those of you who have heard me explain Earth Store Bodhisattva Sutra, it's the same old stories, but they're good stories. So they're worth telling you again. So, okay, let's see now. What do we have to do? This is Australia, which means we have to acknowledge country. That is to say, the Khmer people of the Ugambi language group practice spiritual connections to land, to living beings, and to all creation, here in this location for tens of thousands of years. Today, we acknowledge them as the traditional custodians of this land. We acknowledge them with gratitude as we share this land today, with sorrow for the cost of that sharing, and with hope that we can move to a place of justice and partnership together. We acknowledge their wisdom and their elders, past, present, and emerging, and acknowledge all First Nations peoples whose sovereignty was never ceded. All right. So, Earth Store Bodhisattva. So everybody, let's see here. There we go. Everyone has the language they can hear. 你们都有耳机那懂英文的人。So those of you who understand English are happy with my American English. Can you understand my Mianqiang, Midwestern American English? So I'll start with a story. I had no idea of what the Earth Store Bodhisattva Sutra was. Somehow I had already come to Gold Mountain Monastery. I began as a meditator. I was interested in Zen, Japanese Zen. That's what I knew because I grew up in America in the 60s, and there wasn't much Buddhism there. There weren't any choices. We knew about Zen, but nobody was talking about Dizangwang Pusa. Until one day at Gold Mountain Monastery, I had made a big boo-boo. I'd made a big mistake. I was Master Hua had a way of teaching his disciples where he would look at you and watch the way you behaved. He would find out what you were not good at, and then he would give you a job that would put you constantly dealing with your own inadequacy every day. So if you were no good at mathematics, you would become the accountant. If you couldn't cook, you would be cooking. If you couldn't write a letter, he would make you the secretary, put you in a place under pressure where your inadequacies and your flaws were fertilized and exercised. So I was made the 知客 because why? I spoke what you call 磕磕巴巴的洋人的中文，就是中文，中国话是洋人的中国话。Oh, broken Chinese. And so when a guest came, I would greet them and say the wrong thing, always say the wrong thing. And I made monks, the Da de Gaoseng who came to visit Master Hua, I made them upset because I would just 真的不好意思，哎呀，说的是不应该说这些话。I was an American. I didn't understand Chinese culture and 礼貌. I didn't understand. So Shifu would put me there so I could be scolded a lot. And I was scolded a lot. Oh, my goodness. So one day I had done that. And the day before, Shifu had said to the entire assembly, while I was kneeling in front of him, he said, Buddhism has just arrived in America and you've already ruined it. Okay, you decide. Either you leave or I leave. Which one? You go or I go. I don't want to leave. I just got here. I was studying at Dharma. No. You've ruined it. It's too late. You ruined it. You ruined Buddhism in America. You understand? And it was, do you doubt your teacher? He's telling you that you've destroyed the Dharma and you have to go. So I didn't sleep that night. I was just bowing in front of the Buddhas. So the next morning when I came down, I was feeling pretty low. I was feeling like maybe I'm going to be thrown out of the monastery. And this is a skillful teacher's 善巧方便法. Because why? I was full of myself. I really thought, oh, I understand Chinese. It's easy, and being a monk is easy. And so the word was arrogant and had no appreciation of how profound the Buddha Dharma was, and how the ancients, how the Da de Gaoseng of the past would sacrifice their bodies and their lives to hear the Dharma. And here was Gold Mountain Monastery Shifu was handing us everything we needed to enter the path, to Ru Dao, and Zheng Dao. And I thought I had it all figured out. So there was Shifu sitting right in front of the door. And he said, "What done?" Shifu? He said, "Over there in the altar," and he pointed to the altar. He said, "There's a copy there of 地藏菩萨本愿经." He said, "I want you to recite that. Now, start." And I'm like, okay, sure. I had no idea what the Earth Store Sutra was. And I had heard the name, but I'd never touched it. And so I lit incense, walked around the Buddhas, bowed, knelt in front of the altar all by myself, one person. And everybody else was going out and doing their work and for the day. I was there with the sutra. And I recited chapter 1, and I recited chapter 2, and I recited chapter 3, and I realized that I was sweating. My body was sweating, and I was sweating from places you don't usually sweat. I was sweating from the top of my head. I was sweating from the soles of my feet. My whole body was 流汗, 出汗. And I finished the Shangjian, And I read through the names of the hells and the punishments in the hells, and I thought, oh no, sure gave me the sutra because I'm going to the hells. And I had no idea about the Earth Store Bodhisattva Sutra. But the more I recited, I had a feeling after the Zhongzhen, and I recited the whole thing through, although I wasn't very quick reading Chinese, and that we only had Chinese back then, there was no English. That as I got to the Xiajuan, the third scroll, I felt something leave me. I felt as if I were suddenly lighter and cleaner, and that probably I didn't have to leave the monastery, that Shifu gave me this sutra to recite because he knew that by doing this, by reciting by myself there in front of the Buddhas, I was breaking through the layers of the self, 我相我见, the view of me and mine and how important I was, and how I was going to get enlightened, and all of this was all this wrong views, 邪见, crooked views. And bit by bit, by reciting the Earth Store Sutra, I was starting to erase some of those views, starting to take away some of those layers of pride and arrogance and selfishness. And when I was done, I bowed to the sutra, and Shifu said, go back upstairs. I know you're tired, go to sleep. Try your best, he said. 自强不息, try your best. In English, he says, try your best. So that was my first encounter with the Earth Store Sutra. And I learned that this is, on one hand, it's a wonderful story, but on the other hand, there's a power, there's a strength in the Earth Store Sutra that is, in a word, inconceivable. 不可思议. It's nothing you can think about or talk about, but it has a way of cleaning us from the inside if we are willing to open to it. So that was my first encounter with the Earth Store Sutra. I'm going to talk a little bit about it for people who may not know. Maybe some of you are unfamiliar with the Earth Store Sutra too, but let me recommend to you that this sutra, if you have a chance to join in, I don't know how the nuns are going to set it up, whether people are welcome to recite along, but maybe even at home. Is this going to be online? Okay, great. People can recite at home from wherever you are. So I have a slideshow about Earth Store Bodhisattva that I prepared a while ago. And here is 地藏王菩萨. This is there are several sutras that talk about Earth Store Bodhisattva, and this is the most commonly recited one. There are other sutras about Earth Store. We now have an English translation, which really does the job. It's a lovely sutra translation. In fact, we now have two translations, but if you see the white one, this was the first translation. There are mistakes in it. I'll tell you, the first translator of the white, this first one on the right, you see the white one and the brown one. The white one was first translated by some of the original earliest disciples. And one of the monks who was kind of the lead translator was not filial to his parents. He had a problem with his parents, and he didn't believe in 孝顺, 孝道. That was not a principle that he endorsed. So everywhere in Shifu's lectures where it talked about 孝道, he cut it out. 他自己有删掉了，就因为他自己不相信孝顺，他认为这是古老的什么迷信。 So the first so when you get it, it was only discovered later when we compared, something is missing. Shifu said something that's not here. And we look, oh no, this translator. So from that experience, Shifu created the 8 rules for translators of BTTS. So in the Brown second translation, all of the original lecture was restored. So that's a little bit of, you may not know about those things if you didn't, So anyway, get the second copy. Here is our Bodhisattva. Look at him with his 四不像, this wonderful animal that is Dizampusa's familiar 四不像. He's got a body like a lion. He's got a horn on his head. He's got hoofs like a horse. Just an amazing animal. Okay. So he is called Ta Yuan, Dizampusa, right? Sanskrit, Kshitigarbha, Bodhisattva. Ta Yuan is, what is it? In Japanese, he's called Jizo Bosatsu. And when Dizampusa, First Bodhisattva, went to Japan, he took on a very different identity. He has different jobs, different roles in Japan. And it's important. He has important things to do in his Japanese incarnation, but it's very different, interesting. So this is what we know about Dizampusa comes from the Sutra and also from Shifu's teaching of the Sutra. So what is in the Earth Store Sutra? Dizangjing 都包括什么东西呢? Great vows by heroic women. Adventures of courageous children who make fearless sacrifices to repay their debt of kindness to their parents. Graphic accounts of the hells. That's there. Sublime tales of the heavens. That's there too. Practical advice for spiritual aspects of childbirth. Interpretation of dreams. Guidelines for avoiding rebirth in the evil destinies of animals, ghosts, and hells. Encouragement to cultivate devotion and offerings to Earth Store Bodhisattva. And the Buddha's telling of Earth Store Bodhisattva's causes and his duties and responsibilities in this age. So what an interesting collection of principles and stories are in the Earth Store Sutra. From the point of view of the Dharma, we get to learn about the hells and the heavens. We get to learn about 孝顺, filial respect, and we don't say filial piety. Put a big red X, piety, that English word. No, respect, filial respect. 10th stage Bodhisattva. What is a Shirdi Pusa? That's Earth Store. What is that? Earth Store Bodhisattva's relationship with the feminine. This is for people who say that Buddhism is misogynist, that it's 重男轻女. Say, have you read the Earth Store Sutra? Earth Store Bodhisattva spends a lot of time talking about the condition of women because he was a woman when he made his powerful vows. And Earth Store Bodhisattva's importance in our current time, the Dharma ending age. These are all Dharma topics that occur in the Sutra. Why is Earth Store Bodhisattva said to be the Bodhisattva with the greatest vows? Interesting question. Because why? Well, I'm going to go back here. Let's go back. We're going to go back. Okay. Hold on here. Okay. So when we think about vows, we think, Amitabha. How many vows does Amitabha have? Amitoho, 多少个愿? 48. Right. Okay. What about Pushyan Pusa? How many? 10. You can't answer. You know the answers. Let them answer. Pushyan Pusa 多少个大愿? Clue, right? 10. Okay, good. Guanyin Pusa, how many? Guanyin Pusa. 10, okay. Right? Okay, 12. Good. See, you're listening. Good. So, why, with restored bodhisattvas, 2 vows are those considered the biggest vows? Why is he Dayan Dizang Pusa? It's not in the number, it's in the scope. Okay, take a look. Restored bodhisattva's first vow says, 地狱为空实不成. Okay, only until the hells are empty will I become a Buddha. If the hells are not empty, I don't get to be a Buddha. In other words, he's going last. He's going last. Now, when are the hells empty? I think, and I shouldn't say these things because I don't really know this, but I think Vladimir Putin probably has a room in the hells waiting for him. He's not there yet, but this is a man who's, because of his desire to expand his country, he's killing tens of thousands of people just because of desire in his mind that he hasn't, and that's what takes you to the hells. So, in other words, Dizampusa has to wait until Putin comes out of the hells, and he hasn't even gone in yet. So, long time. And yet, there is a time when Dizampusa wants to get out of the hells. Okay, but that's only half. That's 1/2 of restored bodhisattva's vows. So, think about it. Okay, what do we know? We know hells, ghosts, animals, asuras, people, devas. Those are called Liu Dao Renwei, the 6 paths of rebirth, right? So when the hells are emptied, you go to be a ghost, maybe you get to be an animal. Okay, let's say you get to be a human, come back to your human body from the hells. Pretty good. That takes a long time. Look at vow number 2. 众生度尽，方正菩提. Only after beings leave their next rebirth and go all the way to Buddhahood, that's when these Zampusa's vows are done. Got 2 halves. The first half is taking them out of the hells, but they're still not du jin. They're not free of suffering. They're still in rebirth. So he says, I'm going to take them all the way to liberation from all suffering. So he's got a long, long time to wait, but he's willing to do it. He says, sure, fine with me. Those are my vows. So that's why 2 vows, still the biggest, okay? It's basically, he's saying, I'm going to stay in the hells. Hells are not so nice, right? Worse than Los Angeles. Can you imagine? Boy, oh boy, living in the hells, not a good place to be. So he's willing. His vows are the greatest because number 1, pulls beings out of the hells. Number 2, delivers them out of samsara, already to nirvana. Great vows. Okay. Take a break. Obscure. There we go. Okay. Now, one day, you people who come from Ibao will be interested in this. Ipo. We went to Cameron Highlands one day. There's a temple there called Wan Fo Si, I think. It's a Chen Fo Shan. There's a big temple, brand new temple. And they had just, this was it wasn't 78, I think it was 1980 something. Can't forget, I don't remember the date. So we're traveling with Master Huang. Our delegation is going to this brand new big temple. And we got there after the Kaiguang ceremony. And there was, you could still see a lot of the food was still out there for the thousands of guests who came. And it's a big deal, Da Kaiguang. And for some reason, the old monk who was the abbot there had decided to be Guan. Very funny. As soon as he did the Kaiguang, he beat Guan. I don't know whether he borrowed money and couldn't repay it. I don't know what the story, whatever, you know. Anyway, so there he was. And Shifu decided that he was going to buy from this Lao Hashang. And so our delegation came into the monastery, and it was funny because it was the scene of a banquet, but no people. It was done. Everybody had eating xiashan all over, you know. We were like a day late, and they hadn't swept up yet. Everything was still there. The flies were buzzing around. But it was a big monastery, a big scene. This made an impression on me because it was such an unusual situation. So this Bhikshuni said, "Oh, all right, I'll take you up to meet the old abbot." And so we went up to the second floor, up to the third floor, this brand new temple. And there was the Guanfang. And it was a door with a window. And we could see this pair of eyes behind the window. And the eyes looked out at us and then disappeared. And then came up again. There the eyes looking out, kind of open wide, and disappeared again. And we realized this monk behind the door was bowing to Shifu. And we're like, And he said, oh, 地藏菩萨来了，地藏菩萨来，放大光明, he said, and he was bowing. First Lord Bodhisattva has come, and he's sending bright light out. And so we saw his head and then disappeared. Then we saw his head because he's over bowing through the door to Master Hua. And he said that this is First Lord Bodhisattva. And Shifu looked at us, he said, "You don't recognize it. They don't know." So, and we're like, "What? What's going on here? Who, what is this?" So mysterious, But who was this old monk? And he recognized Master Hua. And so Shifu said, "Yeah, the yin yuan here is very deep and confused. It's difficult causes and conditions here." But he said, this is a Zhiyinzhe. This is one of my soulmates who knows my sound, So that's another one of my stories. Sam, you haven't heard that one, have you? Yeah, that was an amazing story. So, need to replace your batteries? Good. Make sure you can hear. 听不到一定要举手，我们要安排哈。一定要给大家可以听得懂。Okay, so that's a little bit about this Bodhisattva. We're doing good. We've got over 100 people listening in. Welcome, everyone. 大家欢迎. Okay, let's continue. All right. Now, First Lord Bodhisattva explains that we come to this world because of two causes. One is, you could say, our ye feng, the wind of our karma, blows us back to this world. We get a body, we find a mom with a womb, and we're reborn from our womb because why? We still have debts to pay. Our karma that we tie up with other people is up for repayment, both bad and good. If somebody owes us some benefits, we come back to get repaid. That's the story for most of us. But there's another reason, a cause why we're reborn here in the world. And that's, some people come by choice. They make a vow. They say, I will be reborn there because I know I can help. That's compassion, and that's the bodhisattva. So to be able to have this choice, the power to return because you have, they say, lai ming qu bai, you're clear about coming and going. You're not blown by the wind of karma. That's first or bodhisattva, and that's what we find out in the sutra. Okay, what is a vow? It's this word V-O-W, right? Yuan, shi yuan sometimes. It's a thought. It's just a thought in your head. That's all. Like any other thought, but it's a wish that you make with your entire heart, your whole heart. Selfless. A vow that you say, I want to do this. And the thought, if you think about the human mind probably has more electrical currents in it than any other single thing in the world. There's more, 1 trillion transactions happening every millisecond in my mind, my brain. And I don't, is it here or is it here? Xin, where? Xin在哪儿? So wherever this is happening, a thought that is wholehearted, that is focused, 全心全意就是大愿. That kind of thought is a powerful thought, and it can carry us out of this lifetime into the next lifetime. So vow is a superpowered thought that can carry us into, and we can get our next body based on that thought. That's first or bodhisattva. The vows of a Buddha or bodhisattva come from a mind that has been made pure by precepts. It's been concentrated by meditation that they do, and it's guided by the principles of the Sutra. So when a mind like this makes a vow, it gets real power. And if you look around, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 monks and nuns in robes. We have lay people who take precepts and take refuge. I think, I don't have the eyes to see this, but if somebody told me that in this age, at this time, the people who really leave home and cultivate the way, many of them are coming because of vows, because of a wish from the past to draw near to, let's say, Earth Bodhisattva Sutra. That is enough of a thought to pull us into our next life. Interesting. 成愿再来. Buddhism talks about that we say, ride our vows into the next life. And what is the most important thing is certainly the connections that we make with our Da Shan Zhi Shi, with our good and wise advisors. Those connections are the powerful ones. Bodhisattva's practices and vows are a new identity once you transform that false ego. And then they say, 从佛的口而化生出来, reborn from the Dharma, the words the Buddha speaks. I remember when I took refuge, I became a Buddhist in 1973, 1973年. It was when I took refuge, Old Mountain Monastery. And I don't remember a lot of the ceremony because it went by really fast, and Shifu was all in Chinese. But I do remember Shifu saying to those of us who were taking refuge that day, he said, you can take today as your new birthday. He said, from today on, it's like everything that you have done to this point is basically old history, water under the bridge. And everything that you want to become is born again today. So he really made it clear that when we take refuge, particularly with Restore Bodhisattva, which is from a wish in your heart, It's a brand new identity. You get a new start. You can start over. You can try again from scratch, from rebirth, which is that's good news for those of us who look back on our past and think, how could I have done that? How could I have said those things? How could I have done those things? I really wish I could do it again, start fresh. Well, when we take refuge, and particularly with Dizamputa, we get a chance to start over. Bodhisattvas make 4 vows. They say, Zhongsheng Wubian, Shi and Du. Living beings are numberless. Even so, I'm going to work to rescue them all. Afflictions, there's no end to them. Even so, I'm going to put an end to afflictions. This is what a bodhisattva says, and oh my goodness. You could say the mathematics don't add up. Bodhisattva says, yep, that's just it. I'm going to keep at it until I've taken living beings across, I've ended afflictions. I'm going to learn all the boundless methods of practice. Meditation, recitation, bowing, service, kindness, compassion, purity, study. I'm going to learn them all. And the Buddha's way is the highest thing a person can do. I'm going to realize it. I'm going to get there. So these are vows. They're thoughts from the heart. Let's see. Medicine Buddha, Yao Shi Fo, 12 vows. Amitabha, 48. Samantabhadra, 10. Avalokiteshvara, 12. Look at my funny slide. Hold on. There. Okay. Don't know why I didn't spell out 10. Okay, there we go. 12. Yeah. Restore's got 2. Because living beings are still making karma without stop, Restore's vows means he will never leave the hells. All right. Not sharing a screen. Oh. Got to do that. Thank you. Usually Jerry tells me, but Sam has to stand up and say, share your screen. Okay, good. Screen is not being shared, Dharma Master, says Minjian. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. Hold on. All those vows. This is a Earth Store Bodhisattva jack-o'-lantern. We have very talented pumpkin carvers in Berkeley. We have one mom who just is able to. You do Halloween in Australia, trick or treat, right, with pumpkins? You don't have pumpkins like we have pumpkins. We've got really good pumpkins. She does a Guanyin Bodhisattva pumpkin, and it's just amazing. So, yeah. Okay, now, can we, can we pass out the yellow books? Oh, let's see, no need, I got it. We're gonna do a song. We're gonna do an Earth Store Bodhisattva song that is in the book. Yeah. Got to make that, let's see here. There we go. Too small, can't read it, huh? Would you rather look at the yellow book? There aren't that many. Huang Se de Kusumban. Could we pass those out and give me one too so I can get you? This is too small. Okay, you want? We have these really good English language phrases, and people don't know about them, so they don't get sung often enough. Okay, here it is, page 184. 185. Okay, page 185. Let's see here. Okay. It's this praise was written by David Rounds, Guozhou, the late David Rounds, and it really has the power of Restore Bodhisattva in it. So here's how it goes. Restore Bodhisattva, wonderfully uncompared, gold hue in his transformation body he appears, wondrous Dharma sounds throughout the 3 paths and the 6 realms, 4 births and 10 kinds of beings gain his kindly grace, his pearl shining brightly lights the way to heaven's hall. 6th ring, golden staff shakes open wide the gates of hell, leads on those with causes garnered life and life again, to bow at the 9-flower terrace of the honored one. Namo, restore great vows and compassion, Bodhisattva of the dark and dismal worlds, on 9-flower mountain, most honored one. With 10 wheels of power, you rescue all the suffering ones. Okay, and then what we do next is we recite Restore Bodhisattva's name. Try it. Namo Di Zang Wang Pusa. Namo Di Zang Pusa. Namo Di Zang Wang Pusa. Namo Di Zang Pusa. Try it. Namo Di Zang Wang Pusa. One more. Namo Di Zang Wang Pusa. Namo Di Zang Pusa. Di Zang Pusa. Di Zang Pusa. Di Zang Okay, that's a very nice praise, and people don't sing it enough. 这个英文的地藏赞多么好啊！可是在万佛城，它是少唱啊。So, okay. Now, when we look at the Earth Store Bodhisattva Sutra, it's very interesting what we discover, and we hear about his past lives right away. Earth Store Bodhisattva's past lives, and those past lives include his being the son of an elder, a king, a Brahmin woman, and then the woman known as Guangmu, bright eyes. 4 past lives. That's how the sutra begins. And of these 4, 2 of them, they go into real detail. They're about Earth Store Bodhisattva when he was born, she was born as a woman. And the right away, you know that the sutra has very strong appeal to women, to people who are living in a female body in this life, because Earth Store Bodhisattva talks about his experience when he was a woman. And much of the sutra talks about things like childbirth. And it talks about how you can in this life create the causes, the situations for becoming a woman in the future, if you choose to or not, if you choose not to. That gender, this is very interesting for people who are, so interested now in gender studies and all of the issues about the things that have to do with male and female issues. Abortion is a huge topic right now in America, for example. And here's a sutra that says gender is a choice. This is a choice, it's in your control, how you come back. And people go, what? The idea that you come back for many people is like a new idea. Well, the sutra said, of course, not only do you come back, that this is the path of rebirth. If you want to be a human, you can be a human. If you want to be a male human, you can do that. If you want to be a female human, here's how. And that's okay, to come back as a woman by choice. Wow, what an interesting principle to apply in a sacred text called a sutra. Wow, this is really interesting. When we apply the current realities in the year 2022 to this timeless Buddhist text of wisdom, we get some startling information about things that maybe most of us think, I'm just a woman, I'm so-and-so's wife, I'm so-and-so's daughter. That's just it, You think, no, this is really a result of causes that we can create. If we don't like the results we're getting, plant a different cause. Here's how you do it, says Earth Store Sutra. Try it out. Next time you read, if that's tomorrow, if you want to join in with our community here at Gold Coast Dharma Realm and recite along, see if you agree. You read the Earth Store Sutra, what do you get from it? I read the Earth Store Sutra, that's what I get from it. Very powerful, wonderful text. Okay, what else? Take a look here. What kind of vows do we have in the world? Well, we take a marriage vow. What else? We doctors take a vow to do no harm. Hippocratic oath. Lawyers, before they get their law license, they swear at the bar how they're going to use their law training. In the court, before you testify, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you, Buddha? Right? How's this translation doing? He's got it. Good. New Year's resolutions. Every year, New Year's, we say, I want to, this year I'm going to change. And then comes February and we think, I forget what I said. Okay. It's all right, those are worldly vows. Earth Store Bodhisattva says, I'm going to teach you how to make vows. When you become the leader of a group, be it your corporation, be it a civic group, you become the board of education. Let's say you're the mayor, maybe you're a public servant, you take an oath of office. When you sign a contract, you say, I promise to deliver these goods, these benefits, these services for this amount of money. Contract, that's a vow. Citizenship, that's a vow. Military, you swear to defend the country. Okay? Acts of truth. Those are all worldly vows. Restored Bodhisattva says, yes, my vow is I'm going to stay in the hells till everybody else comes out. Then I leave. And then I dedicate myself to all those people I brought out to get them beyond suffering. That's his vow. When we read the Earth Store Sutra, and that's, you can read it aloud, you can recite it, you can read it silently like a book, like literature. Some people copy it out by hand. What happens is, I'm going to take a little break here and look at everybody. One of the things that I really came to appreciate about the Earth Store Sutra is that there are stories of what it's like in the hells. And people don't think in terms of the hells very much. But the Earth Store Sutra says, the hells are operating full time, 24/7, with no vacations right now. That's the truth. And it's what do you say? That's cold water. It can be shocking. And if you have somebody at home that you want to introduce Buddhism to, I recommend don't start them on the Earth Store Sutra. It's not a beginner's text. If you want to, give your husband an introduction to Buddhism, don't drag him to the Earth Store lecture first. Let him kind of dip his toe in the pool, something a little kinder, maybe, the Pumanping, Guanyin Bodhisattva, something like that. Why? Earth Store Bodhisattva pulls no punches. They say it doesn't take any prisoners, right? Earth Store Sutra takes us into parts of life that ordinarily we don't want to see. Why? The suffering in the hells is awful. And at first I thought, why would this be part of the sutra? Why do we need to learn about this? Well, one, obviously you think to scare me into behaving. If I think I could go to the hells, I don't want to. So I'll be good. Don't send me there, And then you realize that nobody sends you to the hells. You take yourself there based on very fair, very impartial cause and effect. It's scientific. This seed, this fruit, this cause, this result, this action, that reaction. Just like Newton's laws of thermodynamics, right? You get an equal and opposite reaction. So, okay. Then I thought about it again, and I thought, where else do we get to see the real story about things like the hells? And I want to suggest to you that here's another way to look at the Earth Store Sutra. So when people know about the lunar calendar, yearly, right? In Chinese, Vietnamese, Japanese, Korean, East Asian culture, the lunar calendar is Nongli is really important, and especially here in the Buddhist world, we do things on the Chu Yi Shu, on the 1st of the lunar month and the 15th of the lunar month. Talking about lunar, that's the moon, right? Well, what does the moon do? Every 30 days, the moon comes back to where it started. You go 7 days, and let's say you start with the new moon, dark. 7 days, what do you have? A waxing crescent moon. Another 7 days, what do you have? Full moon. Another 7 days, a waning full moon, gibbous moon. Then new moon, dark. Okay? So let me say, visualize, if you will, think about what do you see on the 7th and the 21st? You see half of the moon is bright, and what do our eyes go to? Our eyes go to the bright part. But think about this. When you look up at that crescent moon, refocus your vision, and you know what? The whole moon is there. The whole moon is still there. The dark side just has this little rim of light, but if you switch your eyes, oh, that's right, the whole moon has always been there, but our eyes go to the bright part. Right? Isn't that true? And if you look for the new moon, when there's no moon, you actually can kind of see it. Usually you have to be up at the right time. But there it is, and you have to refocus your eyes. Okay, another example, and I'll tell you what I'm trying to show you here. When we look at roses, Jim Fusher's rose bushes over here in front of the Dharma hall, very nice roses, right? And even now, in the winter, there's still some blossoms. I go by there every day and I look at those nice roses. And pretty soon we'll have to cut them back because got to prepare for the next summer. But when you look at the roses, me, just like everybody, what I do, I look at the pretty blossom. And yet, every time I look at the blossom, I'm not looking at the cane with the thorns. I'm not looking at the leaves. I'm not looking at the roots. And yet, without the roots, without the cane and the thorns and the leaves, you don't get the blossom. But how funny we are that when we look at those, we're only looking for the pretty blossom with nice smell and the color. If it's not there, we say, oh, no roses. Yes, there are. There's that whole cane with all the thorns and the leaves and the roots. It's all there. But our eyes don't go there. We look for the pretty blossom. Isn't that true? That's so strange. When an orchid wilts, oh, there's no orchid. We have to wait till next year. But wait, there's all of that orchid there. It's just not the blossom. The hells are always there, but we don't see them. We want the happy news. We want to hear about, being born as a human, being born in the heavens. The Earth Store Sutra shows us the reality that is always there that we mostly don't admit. We're in denial about the existence of hells, the animals, and the ghosts, and all the nastiness of people. To the point where right now, here in Australia, and maybe even worse in America, where I come from, people are denying climate change. Fires are burning in France and in Spain right now. England has had the hottest day ever in its history, and they've been keeping track for a long time. And yet there are people who are saying, climate change, it's a hoax. We don't have to change our behavior. Climate change is not influenced by people at all. There's no such thing as human-caused climate change. I don't have to change my behavior, right? That's people who only see the blossom. The Earth Store Sutra takes us into that part of human life that our eyes ordinarily don't want to look at. The dark side of the moon that's always there, but we look for the light, right? Okay, so what's the point? Are we supposed to look at Cain? No, the point is, don't be scared by the descriptions of the hells. It's true talk about a part of the 6 paths of rebirth that it's good to know about, because people who go to the hells lose their human bodies, go there for a reason. It's not a mistake, it's not an accident. And I'm going to, I guess now is the time. I'll hold on. I got my very best Earth Store Bodhisattva story that Sam has been waiting for. So let me continue with my slideshow and say one of the benefits of reading the Earth Store Sutra is we can appreciate the shadow side of life. Our reality is much richer having read the Earth Store Sutra. The shadow side of life is what we bring to light to get enlightened. If we think we can live only by looking at the bright side, you can, but you're not seeing all of it, and you won't wake up. Earth Store Bodhisattva says, yeah, I'll go into the shadow side. Furthermore, we reconnect with all the creatures by tracing my part of the family tree with my parents back to all living beings. Earth Store Sutra includes every living being, including ghosts. Oh, part of the sutra is taught by a ghost. Part of the Earth Store Sutra is spoken by a Gui Wang, right? Wu Du Gui Wang, poisonless, no poison, Ghost King. That's pretty scary until you think, no, every time I leave my body, I'm a ghost. Benefits. We hear the stories of a hero who began as a woman. We learn about the qualities and the strengths of the feminine. We learn about filial respect, xiao dao. So powerful. This is the sutra that teaches us how to bao fumu in the most powerful way. There's our song again. Okay. There we are. We just sang that already. Okay. I have one more song this one I wrote. And let's see, actually that's interesting. I was going to play it. I could let you, so I'll let you hear how it sounds when it's done with the band. Wait a second. This is, let me take a look here, see if I can. Oh, okay, hold on here.
end her mother's misery was her quest. Her vows she professed, a filial child so blessed. To end her mother's misery was her quest. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows.
All right. Oh, leave you hanging in empty space there. So that's how it sounds when it's done with other musicians. But I wanted to sing it with all of you right now. And the name of it is, it's 归命净透地藏王菩萨. I return, I rely. 我皈依，我回归，然后皈依大愿地藏王菩萨. That's how it goes. So let's see now. Okay. Until the hells are empty, he won't rest. Until the hells are empty, he won't rest. Saving those who transgressed is the thing that he does best. Until the hells are empty, he won't rest. It's actually the wrong place to start. We got to go back. There. Okay, here's the chorus, and this is the part that you all join in. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. 你们会念哈? I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. 我皈依地藏王菩萨，大愿地藏王菩萨。I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. To end her mother's misery was her quest. To end her mother's misery was her quest. Her vows she professed, a filial child so blessed. To end her mother's misery was her quest. Ready? I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. He makes his home deep in the hells. He makes his home deep in the hells. Well, it's deep in hells that this Bodhisattva dwells. Makes his home deep in the hells. Join me. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. Now, there's a lot of verses, so we're going to move ahead to the last one. It's best to practice patience when you're stressed. 有压力的时候，一定要修忍辱波罗蜜. It's best to practice patience when you're stressed. King Yama's unimpressed with your screams of protest. 为什么阎罗王听到你的苦号的叫声，他不动了？铁面老燕军 He's unimpressed with your screams. 所以呢 到时候一定要忍耐，忍耐，切莫忍耐，不生气，说不喝。Ready? Here we go. It's best to practice patience when you're stressed. It's best to practice patience when you're stressed. King Yama's unimpressed with your screams of protest. Best to practice patience when you're stressed. Last time, here we go. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. All right. Now, everybody, you have a 大会香 tonight, and everybody's been working hard all day. First day of our Ursa Bodhisattva Sutra recitation that's going to go for 35 days, reciting 100 100 recitations of the Ursa Sutra. So I want to leave you with a story, and this was years after Shifu first introduced me to Ursa Bodhisattva by telling me to recite that sutra after I had made a big boo-boo. And I learned so much, and I first learned to appreciate Ursa Bodhisattva Sutra. But did I have an actual sense of how powerful Ursa Bodhisattva is? And there's a piece in the sutra where it's actually early, where the Buddha says, Tizan, I'm going to entrust living beings to you in this Dharma ending age. You're going to basically take over from me and be the main source of refuge and salvation for living beings. And Ursa Bodhisattva says, okay, I accept, I'll take it over. I'll step up. And that was always like, how come I didn't hear about that before? That sounds really powerful. It's really amazing. And that's what the sutra says. So, one day, it was in probably something like 1994. I was living at the ITI, International Translation Institute in Burlingame, and Shifu was in the same building. Shifu had moved down from Gold Mountain to ITI, close to the San Francisco airport. And one day, I was at the front desk, and the phone rang, and I said, hello, 国珍呢？师傅，国珍，你有没有听到德国那个情形？ Did you hear about what happened in Germany? 没有，师傅，什么情形？你等一等，我就把一份报纸送下来。挂电话。师傅 said, "Okay, wait a minute. I'm going to send down a newspaper and take a look." So we were all like, "Whoa, what's that about?" So here came a copy of the 世界日报, and the 世界日报 was, of course, in Chinese, and it was had a story, and the story was a report from a small city in Germany where a cab driver had just come back from the dead. We talk about what are called near-death experiences, right? Where somebody dies and then doesn't die. They come back and they talk about it. And of course it's like, somebody has been on the other side of the veil of death and life, rebirth. So here was the story in the Shijie Erbao that Shifu was talking about. And so I can read newspaper Chinese okay, but I kind of have to, so I had another monk, we were reading it together. And the story, I'll never ever forget it. The story goes like this. There was a taxi driver, a gentleman, probably about 45, 46 years old, small town in Germany. And he suddenly died. He didn't get out of bed one morning. And yet they couldn't figure out anything wrong with him. He was a healthy man, strong, and he just didn't wake up. And oh, the family, of course, you know, they were distraught and heartbroken. And called the coroner and the doctor and all, and they had nothing wrong with him. Just he was gone. And so they were thinking, well, in German culture, you don't, you know, hustle him away right away. You wait a while. And so they had to do the arrangements. And so 2 days passed, and suddenly the taxi driver opened his eyes and sat up. Sat up in the mortuary, and everybody was like, ah! He's a ghost. And he said, what happened? What happened? Are you real? Yeah. He said, what day is it? And they said, you died 2 days ago. You haven't been 2 days? He said, oh, no. He said, well, what happened? What happened? How come where did you go and why are you back? We're glad you're back, but where did you go? And so he told his story. And the story was reported on the page of the Shijie Erbao. He said, well, it was funny. He said, I went to sleep, and then he said these two tall beings, creatures in very tall black hats came and said, it's time to go. And I said, I don't want to go. And they didn't answer. They didn't even bother to answer. They just took me. And I was traveling with them, and I remember going really fast. I could kind of feel a wind. And it had a very bad feeling about it. And we traveled and traveled and traveled. And I remember we crossed this river. And the river was really dark. And there was a black dog. And the dog barked, and we crossed, and we went into this city. And he said it was the most terrifying place you can imagine. Not so much, he said it was dark, and it was smelly, and it was noisy, but he said the scariest part was the feeling there. There was a feeling there of desperation and no hope. There was hopeless. And these two guys, they were like jailers or something. They just carried me in. And he said, there I was. And it was a court. It was a courtroom, just like a court of law, like at the town hall. And he said everybody was lined up. And he said it was my turn. They pushed me. And I came in front of a judge. And he said the judge was really scary. Clearly, this is not anybody you mess around with. And the judge asked me my name, and I told him my name, and he looked, and he looked, and he got angry, and he slapped his bench, and he looked at the jailer, and he said, you got the wrong man. This is not the Joseph Lieberman. This is a different Joseph Lieberman. You got the wrong man. And he scolded the two jailers, or the two wardens who came with me. And the judge was polite to me, and he nodded his head. He said, I'm sorry. We're going to send you back. You'll have to wait for the next opportunity. We'll send you back. And I was I had no idea what was going on, but I was out of the court and I remember the scene. He said there was like a shoreline with a body of water, too big for a lake, too small for an ocean, kind of like a sea. And in the sea were all these kind of people, but more than people, there were just all kinds of beings, and they were bobbing up and down on the sea, and there were these awful, horrible, demon-looking creatures with pitchforks who were pushing them back into the water. They would try to get out and climb up on shore. They get pushed back into the water, and in the water were all these creatures, kind of like sharks, kind of like alligators, eating them. And they would swallow them down, and then they would come back up, and they would eat them and push them back in. It was awful. It was awful. He said, and the screams and the cries and the smells, he said it was truly worse than any nightmare I've ever had. And it was happening right in front of my eyes. And he said, but then, this is all written down in the GCDR about the World Journal. He says, but then, right there, kind of in the air, over this sea of suffering, he said, like the air kind of split open, and there was this person. And he had no hair on his head was bald, and he had a staff in his hand, and it went clink, 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 and he was wearing red. He had a red robe on his body, and yellow and red. And I remember he looked very calm and very strong. And he tapped his staff, and from the ocean, 1, 2, 3, 4 people flew up out of the ocean and disappeared through the door that he was holding in space. And the jailer, from the one who took me from my bed, pushed me, and I flew up past this being, and the door closed, and everything down below continued as before. And I woke up, and I'm back. And you said it was 2 days? He said, for me, I don't know, there was no sun, there was no moon, there was no time. He said, but I'm back. And he said, I really want to find out who was that person with the shaved head and the yellow staff and the red robe. He said, I think I kind of recognize him, but it's not Jesus, it's somebody else. He said, I want to find out who that was. And so the phone rang. Sherpa said, did you read the article? Yeah, we did, Sherpa. He said, what do you think? He said, Sherpa, that's the ocean of suffering. And that's Dizampusa. He said, sure, that's all. Hung up the phone. Correct, he said. That's Restore Bodhisattva. There is a scene in the Restore Sutra that describes exactly what our taxi driver from Germany saw in his near-death experience. So every now and then you get a little view that this is not just some book about long ago and far away. The Restore Sutra is truer than the newspaper. Sometimes in the newspaper you get fake news. There's no fake news in the Restore Bodhisattva Sutra. It's the truth that we ordinarily are in denial about. But it's the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Okay, so those are my good stories about Restore Bodhisattva. And I want to encourage everybody who has found Sam, do they use the same link to join in for reciting? now that you have the link that brought you to our lecture tonight, and there's 126 of us on tonight, that's the same link that you can click on. How do they get the schedule? Is that on the website? Okay, if you go to the website, I'm going to put it right here in the chat. It is www.gcdr.org.au. There it is, goldcoastdharmarealm.org.au. Go to that website, and it will show you the schedule for tomorrow. They will do 3 recitations of the entire Restore Sutra, morning, noon, and night, starting tomorrow for the next 35 days, 34 days. 100 100 volumes, all in all. Please do join in and see if you agree with me that the Restore Bodhisattva Sutra is essential reading for those of us in a time of pandemic, in a time of great disruption and dis-ease and anxiety that's in our world right now. Somehow, when you read the Restore Sutra, everything clicks into place, and we lose our fears, and we gain in wisdom and courage to face and do what needs to be done. All righty. Now, we're going to finish tonight with a transference of merit that includes another set of great vows. This one is the great vows of Medicine Buddha. We're going to recite a mantra, and the mantra's in Sanskrit. It's got a lot of power here. This is Medicine Buddha's, it's called the mantra for anointing the crown. Yao Shi Guanding Zhenye. Fan Wen Ba. This has Medicine Buddha's energy of healing in it. And when we recite, I was out with a group last month, and I was concerned that there might be COVID in this group of interfaith friends. And I realized that with that thought, oh, maybe I could be hurt by this, I had let in a doubt, a shadow in my mind. I thought, wait a minute. I recite Yao Shi Guanding Zhenyan, Namo Boche Fadi Bi Shashe, number 6 out of the 10 small mantras. I do it in Sanskrit. I go, Om Namo Bhagavate. Why did I do it now? So I did it. I recited it right on the spot. And not only did the doubt disappear from my heart, but I thought, I can actually recite for others too, and send out this healing energy of goodness, of Medicine Buddha. Sure enough, I recited, and I felt, oh, this is good to be here because I can help by reciting. So let's learn it, let's recite it, and when we're in a situation of uncertainty because of COVID, it gives us something proactive to do. This is Mahayana Buddhism, Hanshan Fojiao's power tool in a time of pandemic. Okay, please make a wish. Appreciate you joining us tonight for our exploration into Restore Sutra, and I encourage you to join in this week, next 35 days. Here we go. Jury Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Saji Asaji Vaisaya Samukate Swaha. One more. We're going to finish by bowing 3 times to the Buddhas. And we can bow to the Buddha on my screen right now. Oh, wait a sec. That won't work. Okay. Please join me if you care to. First bow. Second bow. And third bow. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. First bow. Second bow. And third bow. Okay, that will do it for us from here. Ami Tofo, everybody. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye now.